Okay, today we're going to talk about website conversion, because the bottom line is if you have a product and it's trying to sell it on a website, if that site doesn't convert, then everything else you do is an absolute waste. You've got to make sure that that site will convert. There are 5 factors we're going to talk about, which are the main overlying factors involved in this. We'll roll through each one, and we'll tell you a little bit more here. So we're going to cover the 5 factors, how they affect conversion, and then in the process we'll cover some examples in this. Okay. Now let's first define the word conversion. And here I've got a lengthy explanation. This is the change from one belief, view, course, party, or principle to another. This is the bringing over or persuasion of a person to a particular belief, party, or principle. So it's bringing them over, bringing them across, changing their point of view. Another way of looking at this is the change from one use or purpose to another. So in short, the change from one state to another, or in this case really what we're talking about is people. So we're talking about the changes in people. We'd like to see prospects changed into customers, visitors changed into subscribers, customers to clients, customers to affiliates, and then to be all and end all, any of the above. We'd love to see them all become kind of unofficial brand evangelists. And this is really, it's just the greatest tool you can have, is to have these people running around spouting off how great your product is. Doesn't get any better than that. So here, these are the pieces we're going to talk about. We've got prospect awareness, the value proposition, the action catalyst, the action incentives, the process inhibitors, and then trust and anxiety. And the last two there, the process inhibitors and trust and anxiety, these are elements that that can be largely, they're in essence, they're negative. And so we have to figure out ways to combat them and create a positive environment around them. So the first one we're going to look at here is the levels of awareness. And there are a number of different levels we're going to work with, 5 in this case. And so we'll kind of roll through them here. The first one, this is the easiest sale for you. That is, besides somebody who's already bought your product, and frankly somebody who owns one of your products would fit in this. But this is an instance where the customer, or the client, or the knows of your product. They know what it does, and they know that he or she wants your product. Here's the next one. They're not yet completely aware of or convinced how good your product is, or they haven't been told how good it is. So here's an instance where, yeah, they're aware of the product name, they're aware of what it does, what it can do for them, but they're not yet sure how good the fit is for them. So they've got to check things out. Next one. In this case, they know that they want what the product does, but they don't yet know that there is a product, which in this case would be yours, that'll do it for them. So in this case, we have to introduce the product. And this is a little tougher because they don't know your product yet, so we do have to introduce them. We have to pull them into them. We have to draw them in and then explain to them how and why your product is right for them. The next one, the prospect has a need but no desire. There's no connection between fulfilling that need and your offering. And we'll get into a little further what this one is. This is an interesting one as well. And then the fifth one, hopefully this is not a group that you're ever going to be dealing with, because really there is no need, no awareness or need or desire for the product, or the need is so undefined that there is zero draw to your offering. This is not who you want to be dealing with. So let's take a little closer look at each of these and talk about each of them in a little more detail. So this first one here, they know of your product. They know what it does. They know, that he or she wants it. This is easy. The golfer. They want Callaway clubs. They've read about them. They know about them. They've even held them maybe in their hands in a store. They know exactly what it is that they want. And they know that the next time they hit the golf course, they want that set of Callaway clubs in their hands. That's an easy sale. The only thing you have to do is convince them that they should buy the clubs from you. Next one. Here we're dealing with an instance where they're aware of the product and how good it is. Or, they've maybe been told how good it is. In this case, all you're really having to do is convince them that yours is a little better than the others. Okay? So here we have Thirst Knows No Season. We're telling them Coke is the best. That's the one they should be going with. Okay? It's better than Pepsi. That's all there is to it. And then we can give them a reasons why. This next one I love was developed by, and this headline was from Eugene Schwartz, incredible copywriter, back in the kind of the first part of the 20th century. Here, talking about a product, you know what a product does, but you don't yet know that there is a product that'll do it for them. He wrote this headline it was a lead-in headline. Who ever heard of 17,000 blooms from a single plant? Now the idea here is, again, and this is the headline. Somebody's reading through a magazine or something and they see this. Whoever heard of 17,000 blooms from a single plant? They're going to read further. They have this lovely garden that they're growing. They're going to replant it this season. Is there a plant that'll bloom 17,000 times from a single plant? They're going to check that out. It's going to draw them in and pull them in. It grabbed them, and it's kind of pulled. It's increased their awareness. But still, you've got to do that from the very start. You have to draw them in, and then you have to explain your product. A little tougher sale here. This next one, this one I love. It's where the prospect has a need but no desire. There's no connection between fulfilling that need and your offering. Now, we've got a jock itch cream here. The idea is Joe Blow's dealing with this. He wants to get rid of it. He doesn't know what products will fulfill that. He has no idea. So, he's got to go start looking. So your job becomes putting your product out in front of them, showing them this stops that maddening itch. That's how you affect this one. So yes, you have to introduce your product. You have to explain what it does. And then you've got to tell them right off the bat, this is going to solve your problems. A little tougher one, okay? But, so this one you can deal with. Still, groups 1 and 2, those are the ones you'd like to have. And then we have number 5, where no awareness or need or desire, or the need is so undefined that there's no draw to your offering. Now with this one, the price, the product, the function or desire really means nothing. The only thing you have to market on here is the market. Now this is the fruit you hope you don't have to rely on to feed yourself, because this one, having to go to the market to rely on, you're all but doomed. So if this is the sort of product you're dealing with, my advice would be, well, frankly, drop it and then reassess your situation, and that's why I start with the prospect awareness, is because you really do need to look at the type of product you have, where it fits in the level of awareness, so that you know for whom you're going to be talking. So take a look at the whole thing. If you're fitting in 1 or 2, maybe 3 even, yeah, you can work with it. You get beyond that, it's a much tougher sell, and it's going to be tough. It's not something you can't deal with, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. So let's look at the next level. here we have the value proposition. So let's look at first what a proposition is. This is a clear, concise statement, or it could be a series of statements, about the value the solution offered by the product or service has to the client. There's a clear shift of focus and mindset in here. Okay, and what we're doing is we're creating this underlying picture around the product that tells them exactly what it is that they should want and why and for whom, and it underlies the product so that they can almost hold this thing in their hand and see what it is they're going to get out of it. Now, as you start to work on the value proposition for your product, there are a variety of different pieces here that you need to really look at. As you are developing it, you want to look at, first you need to do some research. You need to find out about your client's business. You need to know who their clients are, what their clients' problems are, what their whether this is something that should cost a lot or a little. You need to know who their base business is. Okay. Then you also need to do a little relationship building to establish rapport, outline process. With this, this is just figuring out how you're going to communicate with your prospect. Is this one that needs to be via direct mail, email, phone call, or a various combination of the different ones? How are you going to reach them? And then we get into a little active listening, and this is to understand a client's goals and pains. This is one where some marketers will actually they will use surveys to do this, where they're going out and they're surveying their prospects so they can get a clear picture of what it is that their clients' issues are. That's where somebody will have a survey up that'll say, tell us what is your favorite whatever with web conversion, not with web conversion, but with building a list, or what is your biggest problem with building a list? There's a question, and somebody types in, well, my problem is I have trouble getting people to the offer. Somebody else says, well, I have trouble doing this, I have trouble doing that. But that's the goal, is to understand what their issues are, what their goals and pains are. Next, we get into questioning. This is about your client's business challenges and visions, and this is one where you're not even looking so much at their prospect, but you're looking more at your clients, at the issues of your client's vision. And again, this is so you can fully understand what they're hoping to do with their business. If they're releasing a little report that is going to show that covers just the front end of their business, you need to understand that. You need to understand that little report is then going to lead to this product, which has got as a home study system, which is then going to lead to this seminar system, which is then going to lead to one-on-one coaching or group coaching, and then beyond that, one-on-one coaching. But you need to understand the way their business is going to work and the way this whole thing is going to grow for them. Then you also need to understand your client's needs, pains, goals, and dreams, and that kind of falls into the last one. It's an extension of it, really, where you need to understand what their issues are as they're dealing with things so that you can work around those as well. And then lastly, we have an articulation of solutions, pretty big words here, and the value that will bring to the client. Okay, so this is where you summarize the whole thing, and you put all the pieces together so that you can show the client what it is you're going to do for them. Now, the next thing that happens with this is you have a client on the other end. As they look at this whole thing, you have to figure they're sitting there saying, well, what's in this for me? They've got a variety of questions. What do you do differently from your competitors? You need to be able to answer that. You need to be able to say, well, we look just like blue widget number 2, yet inside this blue widget we also have the following elements. What results will your clients see from your product or service? How is it going to affect their business? Is it going to increase their business? How much is it going to increase their business? How quickly is it going to increase their business? How is this going to work for them? You know, what are your core values that make these results possible? What are the core elements within your business that makes it possible for their business to increase? How do you go about providing that and making that offer? Then you've got people saying, how do you minimize client risk and ensure return on investment? Well, that's one where you've got to say, well, and I think your this is one where your guarantee may come into play as part of it, but you need to be able to say, this is going to happen. Your income is going to increase by this much in this period of time, or you can ask for all your money back. And I love in some of the work I've done. I'm a big fan of the 1 year guarantee, where we can say, if any time during this year you have done the following, and they don't even have to show that they have, but you're saying you have to have tried the following, you've got to have tried to work with this system. If for some reason it doesn't work for you, you get back in touch with us, we'll refund all your money. And then what evidence, and case studies even better, can you provide to support your solutions? And that becomes some of the social elements involved in showing that, yes, there are people using this product and this is what it's done for them. So here we have, you want to include anticipated business improvements in quantifiable terms, timescales for returns on investment, timing of clients' costs and expenses, and how the benefits will be measured. I mean, these are the sort of things you need to include in this whole thing for people. Now, again, let's understand that at the end of the day, it's the clarity of your value proposition that can have the greatest effect on conversion. Hi, and welcome back to Website Conversion Mastery. Let's look at our next item here. We're going to talk about the action catalyst. Now, a catalyst is an agent that provokes or speeds significant change or action. An agent being it can be a wide variety of things on a website. It's the element that either starts the prospect on the path toward the desired action, or in most instances, this even could be the element that brings the prospect over the tipping point. So there are a couple different ways that this can work for you. So let's look at some examples. I love this first one. Have you ever made a purchase in part for or simply because of the bonuses being offered? I mean, how many times have you had, say, some big launch that's coming out, or some small item, whatever it is, and you've had these two different pieces kind of you've got this offer in front of you, and you're trying to decide which one to take advantage of. So you're going to grab onto the one that has the better bonuses attached to it. That's the way this game works. Let's look at another one. Have you ever signed up for something or purchased a product by a specific date to avoid a stated price increase, like an early bird deadline or something along those lines? And yes, this comes up as well. There are marketers out there who put little things on their website that when you hit it, it says oh, you must invest in this by Friday the 23rd, which is 2 days from now, knowing that it's supposed to push you to go ahead and do it. That's kind of BS. Let's be honest. But what is serious is when they've got a limit in the number of items they're going to release, or there truly is an actual deadline for the timing they're going to offer things. Then that additional push, that's the thing that can push you up over the limit. You can be standing up at the top, the precipice, and that's the piece that gives you a little nudge, so you slide down and you make your purchase. Here's another one, and I love this one. This is a different type of catalyst. It's the idea of the free iPod. And this is something we've seen fly around the internet a fair amount. The idea here is that by offering these free iPods for people, they're incentivizing the prospect, which could be you looking at the site, to complete an offer. That could be signing up for a credit card or Blockbuster Online or whatever it is, and then get 5 of your friends to complete an offer as well. Now once that's done, they'll send you an iPod. Basically, they're using the incentive of the iPod to push people into taking the actions they want, and in this case it's signing up for trial offers. There's a lot of power in that, and it's something like that iPod. Look at those guys. You want that iPod Touch there on the right. That's pretty tempting. I got to sign up. I can sign up for this credit card. I can sign up for Blockbuster Online. But I don't really have to ever use any. And then I just got to get 5 friends to sign up for stuff. Well, shoot, I got 5 addresses. I'll do that even. The bottom line though is you've actually signed up for stuff, and you're in the hook. They've got you. Now they can start working on marketing to you. It's the element that either starts the prospect down the path toward the desired action, or in most instances the element that brings the prospect over the tipping point. This is all about control over the prospect, this part of the action catalyst. The key becomes just how much can the marketer get and handle. How much can they push things to make it work. Now let's look at our next section. This is the action incentive. This one's seems a little different. This is a thing that motivates or encourages one to do something. Okay, it's a payment or concession to stimulate greater output or investment. I like that, a payment or concession to stimulate greater output or investment. This is the key motivating factor that each and every offer needs to have in place. Now this speaks back a little bit to the value proposition. That is that single statement. That is what the value proposition is. This actually carries things much further, okay? Here we're not just talking about what the element is, but how it's demonstrated also, how and where. The action incentive consists of the sum total of benefits which a vendor promises that a customer will receive in return for their associated payment or other value transfer. This must be made very clear for people. Now the reason I have or other value transfer is because frankly this same thing could carry into just getting people to sign up for a newsletter. It can be share 5 of your friends and we'll give you this additional report. It can be there are a wide variety of pieces like that besides just getting a purchase made. Okay. Put simply, the action incentive is what the customer gets for his money. Okay. It's not just the value proposition. This is the overall picture. Okay. Now this has to be made, and actually let me back up here. Have you ever noticed that when you buy a marketing course online, they make a big deal out of summarizing the offer on an extra page prior to checkout? This is a perfect example. We'll look at this next one here. This is an Alex Mandosian checkout page, and actually down below this is where the credit card and address info sits. But look at this thing. He basically, what they wanted to say is, yes, rush me Alex Mandosian's market with postcards, advertising course to flood my business with more customers, more patients, and more cash-paying clients than anything else I've ever tried before, even if I'm on a tight budget. I understand that I get a $100 discount off the normal $297 offer offline price, along with these 5 bonus gifts worth well over $700. So in their actual sales letter, they've kind of lengthy in a long drawn out way, they've summarized all this stuff. Okay, but as the extra push to try to get you to make this purchase, they're summarizing in the top there what it is that you're getting, and then they line up each of the 5 bonuses and they briefly explain each of them with a value next to each of them, so they can say this is how much this is worth. And then down below that they take it a step further, and they offer their what is it? It's the understand that the marketing with postcards is covered by Alex's two-part what is it? Two-part risk-free money-back guarantee, minus shipping and handling. That certainly makes your buying decision a no-brainer. I mean, this seems, when we look at it from this perspective, it seems a little cheesy. I'll tell you, this is actually a darn good page. Quite frankly, Now, this is the sort of thing that the action incentive covers. Now, one of the key pieces of the incentive is not just what it is, but how clear it is to the user. Your prospect needs to see very clearly and easily exactly what the incentive is. Now, that same piece that I just showed you, something like this, is actually going to be at the bottom of his actual sales page too. And then when they take you over to the purchase, they re-emphasize everything. They rebuild it all for you to make sure that you see exactly what it is you're going to get. Now, this means that for this stuff to work, and here are a few little tips to help you do this, okay? This all must be clearly spelled out in 5th grade English, okay? Can't mess with this. You have to assume that everyone looking at this could be from who knows what background, okay? So everything needs to be in 5th grade English. It works very well if it's in a bulleted style layout, just like Alex's was, with these little dots. And you need to say, here is what you are going to get. And you need to do it that clearly and that openly so that people know this is exactly what they're going to get. For an action incentive to be effective, it must be very easily seen, okay? This directly affects the value proposition because it does draw back into the value proposition. It pulls off of that and it re-emphasizes. Instead of a little statement, they've got this window of elements that make up the action incentives, okay? And it reinforces everything behind that value proposition that was made and stated earlier on in the sales letter. Now let's look at our next item here, and this one's a little different because this is one that you need to. This is the process inhibitors, okay? And this is one where you really need to look at your sales process and see where these inhibitors may be. An inhibitor, as it says here, is a substance that retards or stops an activity. A substance that retards or stops an activity. So in my book, you'd like to roll through your sales process and eliminate every one of these. Some will be easier than others, but this is the sort of thing you have to go through and see. I mean, these are the large, or in some cases very small elements that stop all of the positive elements from doing their parts in eliciting a conversion. So honestly, you have to stop and you've got to walk through and look at what are the possible things that can create a breakdown in your sale. This is a hurdle, and it could be psychological, it could be physical, it could be emotional or functional that may halt or slow the conversion process. And so to look at this properly, you've got to go through, and like I just said, we've got a psychological, we've got a physical, emotional, and functional. You actually have to step back, not as yourself, but as somebody for whom your sales page is brand new. Okay? This is brand new stuff. The words on here is the first time they've ever seen them. They haven't spent days writing this thing, okay? And you've got to go through and start to say, okay, from a psychological standpoint, what am I going to run into here? From a functional standpoint, what am I going to see in my whole sales process here that could be an inhibitor? What might slow things down? A classic example, and this is a very specific one, is kind of the idea of a multi-step checkout process online, okay, as opposed to a simple minimal page process. Now think about this. The harder a prospect must work, the less likely they are to convert. That's the bottom line. So, think of the old days. You used to go online, go to make a purchase, and you'd go to pay for the thing, and you'd hit, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And you click the OK button. First page you get asks for your name and email address. So you fill that in, hit OK. Next page asks for your credit card info. You go ahead, you fill that in. Okay, hit OK. Next page asks for your address. So you fill that one in. Hit OK. The next page says, and where do you want this shipped to? And this was before they'd have a little checkbox on the page that said, click, my shipping address is the same as my billing address. So you'd hit that. Then they'd take you to a page that summarized the whole order, and then to the final page. So here we've got like a 6-step series of pages here. So what's been done with that? Well, a lot of work has been done to streamline the checkout process, adding and deleting the necessary elements that can create an effect. This even gets into which words are placed where on a checkout page. But the bottom line is they have summarized the entire thing, and they've even looked at what needs to be there, what do we not need. But they've summarized the entire thing down into this single page. And they've done that so that even the order in which the things are asked for makes sense to the user. So you can fill this thing out and move on through. Now, a short time ago I heard a friend of mine speak at Yannick Silver's Underground Seminar 5. And this guy's name is Perry Belcher. Awesome guy, great guy. Had a great time with him. Now, when he was actually speaking was on the very first day of this whole event, and he spoke about a wide variety of elements in his life, ups and downs in his life, but some of what one little piece of what he talked about really stands out for what we're doing here. What he was talking about was this: he has sold a lot of products through one shopping cart. So what he introduced was a super easy way to get an upsell via one shopping cart that eliminates all inhibitors. And he called this the risk-free upsell. Now normally, when one makes a purchase these days, it's become quite normal, especially in the internet marketing world, for an upsell or a one-time offer to be made to the buyer. These are generally presented right after the checkout process has taken place. Okay, you got to figure processes. They've bought one product. Okay, they're in. They've taken it. They've paid for the thing. They probably still have the credit card in their hand, or it's at least sitting on the desk next to them. And it should be a pretty easy way for them to simply add another item to their order, right? Well, let's kind of stop and think about this for a second. Yes, they're in the buying mode. Obviously, they just made a purchase from you. And yes, they do still have the credit card within reach. It's sitting there on the desk. But do they really want to fill in all of their credit card info a second time? Now that's the big question. They just spent, and the big picture things, they spent 2 minutes filling it out, but to them it seemed like 5 or 10 minutes filling in their name, their address. They got to, scrutinize that credit card, make sure they've entered that info all correctly, get it all set again, so they can hit click and go on. And yes, hitting them with this upsell works much better than sending them an email afterwards with an upsell. But again, do they want to fill out all of their info from top to bottom? That's the big question. Well, here was Perry's solution, and I absolutely love this. Now, what if that customer only had to click a single button that added that back-end offer to their purchase? So on the thank you page, you could say, thank you for purchasing, the whatever. Now, are you aware that the product you ordered is an online streaming version? For an additional $10, you can have the entire thing packed on CD and sent out to you, for $10 only. Click this button to add this to your offer. That's all they had to do. All they had to do was click a single button that said, add this to my order, please. That's pretty cool. That single button there. They click that, boom, it's added to the order. So the answer to this was, is a big fat yes. Do you think they did it? Yeah. And conversions went through the roof with a move like this. That's just an awesome, awesome factor. Now, let's take another look here at another inhibitor. This time, we're going to look at some elements in copywriting. And as a big fat blue word here, objections. This is something that comes up for everyone as they go through a sales letter. You read through the letter, these are the possible reasons for maybe not buying, or the questions that a prospect may have that cause some level of disbelief. So as they're reading through the thing, a lot of pieces come up for them. They figure there's too much competition. This one looks like all the others. Why aren't they doing it themselves? I can't do all of that myself. What if it doesn't work for me? And then there's a myriad of other factors. So let's look at each of these. This is where in this next one here, the job of a great copywriter is to anticipate these objections that may slow or flat out stop the purchase process. So a great copywriter will take and address the solutions or answers to each issue and make working with them a positive element in the sale. Let's look at this one. Too much competition. If somebody is hitting, they say, well, this looks great, but there's going to be too much competition. You have to address that one in your writing. That's where the great copywriter will say, now, what are the, now we understand that you may have some questions about these products. What might those be? Well, first one could be, is there going to be too much competition? The answer to that is a big no. That's why we're only releasing 300 of these products, 300 of them worldwide, so that no one else anywhere will have access to this except 300 people. This one looks like all the others. Well, that's an easy one. If it looks like all the others, yeah, that's fine. Then you have to go ahead and point out, and maybe it's with a chart that shows the differences that between the products. Yeah, say you're selling a survey product. Well, yeah, they ask these different types of survey questions. You can put answers here. You can do this. You can do that. But then let's go ahead and put in the other pieces below that our product offers that the others don't. Now, why aren't they doing it themselves? This one is an interesting one. I think this one gets to this one kind of aims at that person who is making say $2 million doing CPA ads, and the question is, well, why are they selling this product when they're making $2 million a year doing their other thing? And the answer to this one actually ends up being a pretty interesting one. I mean, they've done a little bit of coaching. They went ahead and they did work with a small little handful of people, and they realized, shoot, I kind of enjoy this. I'm still making my $2 million, but you know what else? I'm also getting to work with these people. I'm getting to help them and help mold them. It isn't hurting what I'm making over here, but it is letting me work with these people and bring them along. That's pretty darn cool. That's the sort of thing you include. I can't do all of that myself. Well, you're just going to show them, blanketly how you go through it. Or this is also a place where you may want to put in a little box, worried about trying to produce all this yourself. We do have another option that deals with that. Click here to look at that. They click that one, it opens up a new window, shows them where one of their people is going to go through and set everything up for them. And then finally, what if it doesn't work for me? Well, this is a perfect place to bring in your guarantee. Again, look, you've got, we're giving you 365 days where you can work with this material. You can try it out. You can kick it. You can slam it on the ground. You can set everything up. You can try to run it. Maybe it sits on a shelf and you don't do anything with it. Whatever you do to it, you got 365 days to work with it. At the end of that time, if somehow it doesn't seem that it's worked for you, all you have to do is email, and we will go ahead, email it, and then you can send your package back in. As soon as we receive it, boom, we'll give you an immediate refund. No problem. So again, that great copywriter, like I said, has got to take and address the solutions or answers to each issue and make working with them a positive element in the sale. And you can see this on main sales pages. Sometimes you'll see it as when somebody tries to leave a sales page, they may have a window that pops up. It says, now wait, why are you leaving without making a purchase? Are some of these, did you have any of these questions? And they'll run through the questions for them and answer them, and then they'll give them a link to go ahead and go make the purchase. Now, let's look at the final piece out of these 5 prospects. And this one is trust and anxiety. And this is a very interesting one on the internet. Let's think about this for a minute. For those of us who work on the internet and have gotten quite used to filling out forms and purchasing things online, this may not seem like a very big deal. I want to go buy Joe Blow's package. I go put my credit card info in. I hit submit. Boom, done. I don't even think about it. We go visit a site. We enter our information, some credit card info, and bam, done. Okay. Well, you have to think, when you're trying to sell a product online, who are you trying to sell this thing to? I mean, what about the vast, vast majority of internet users for whom there are grave concerns of identity theft or even just plain being ripped off? And that is, trust me, that is the vast majority of people on the internet. If you're selling a product that is geared towards internet marketers, you're probably okay. Although even still here, you're going to be dealing with it because you've got folks who have the money and are trying to move into internet marketing, and they want to try your product. They want to work with your product and see if that thing will help them get rolling. So trust and anxiety. This is, trust is the trait of trusting, of believing in the honesty and reliability of others. Anxiety is a vague, unpleasant emotion that is experienced in anticipation of some, and it's usually ill-defined, misfortune. These are 2 little factors that have to be in place properly for people to use your site. Now, in the earlier days of the internet, marketers first ran into the privacy issue on the internet. And this was longer ago. Smaller numbers of people were even buying at this point, and this is the way it was. This was generally dealt with by using some form of, and even then it wasn't called anti-spam, but it was an anti-spam statement. And these are generally good, but I'm going to point out for you in a moment here, it should be noted that simpler statements tend to work best. Okay, this was one where you get to a site, and under the opt-in form it says, we don't like, who likes spam? We don't like spam. We know you don't either. That's why we will never email, rent, whatever your information to any third party whatsoever. Spammers suck. And then they have this little image, the spam zero tolerance policy, things like that. You know what? I can tell you now, and here's a little brief piece I'm going to give you in here. Research has shown that if you have an opt-in box and you want people to opt in, go with this left-hand option. Please do review our privacy policy. And privacy policy is a link. When you click it, the privacy policy opens in a window on the page. That's it. That's all you want. Okay? Now, the other statements seem like you're communicating with people. Nope. Go with this simple one. There's a little piece for you to use. Now, let's look at another element of trust and anxiety. This is borrowing from affiliated sources. Okay. Now you think about it. One easy way to establish your trust online is to borrow the source from one that's already in place and established. Now, brands like Home Depot and Amazon and many others are at the top of their game, both on and offline. You can't really grab a spot like theirs, okay? But what you can do is let's work with something called social proof. Okay? Now, social proof gets into showing from users of a product that they love it. Okay? And we're going to talk about just one form of social proof. There are a variety of others, but what we're going to talk about here is just testimonials. Okay? Now, there are other pieces that you can bring into a site. We're just going to talk about testimonials for right now. So when you think about what a testimonial does to a web page, the impact is pretty darn substantial. And this is just a brief one from that was sent in on a product. Not a big deal, but again, very substantial. Now, the social proof from another person can have a golden touch to a web page. Okay, if you think about it, the greatest thing that a person can do for a web page is to give a totally unsolicited testimonial. Now, let's take that and multiply that by 10 to 15 product admirers. Okay, so suddenly you've got 10 to 15 testimonials on a page. Or how about some of these pages where you read through a bunch of the testimonials and there's a link that says want to see more testimonials? Click here. You click that, it opens up a brand new page that could be excuse me. I'm thinking it was Marlon Sanders used to do this. It'd open up a page that was like 10 pages long of just testimonial after testimonial after testimonial, just this field of huge things. Or how about then John Reese released Traffic Secrets. He put that product out, had it out for a short time, and then he said, okay, everyone who's got this, send me your testimonials. Tell me how this has worked for you. Next thing you know, when you get to that page, up at the top of it, it says proof in huge letters. And then down below it is this whole bank of audio and video testimonials of people who have used this product, and it's people explaining what it's done for them. And I think I had one of those. I had one of those products on there. It's a great tool, and that helped him sell a ton of that product. Now, I'd like to touch base on one other trust issue that can have a truly incredible influence on a website. This is something that every website can and should have in place, but frankly most do not. And this is one of those little pieces that, quite frankly, does not have to cost you a whole heck of a lot, if anything, to have in place on your site, but you need to do it. Now, before we go any further, I don't know if you remembered earlier on, I mentioned the number of folks that still have issues using a website. Now, these are the folks that really want to believe in an online purchase, but are, quite frankly, they're scared. And you have to be able to address things for them. You have to do every little thing on your web page to help them feel comfortable moving through making a purchase with you. So this is one of those little things. And again, this is a very important piece of business that you've got to take care of, okay? So these folks are worried that the websites they're visiting just can't be trusted. So how does one address these concerns that these folks carry? Online trust icons, okay? This is too easy, too important to do. Here are a page with a number of different ones. The PayPal verified. All you have to do is use PayPal to sell stuff, and you get to use that. It doesn't even mean anything else about your website, yet it's showing it has this element of proof. The Scan Alert, Hacker Safe, fantastic, especially now with the Scan Alert that they've bought this thing. A lot of power there. The BBB, and actually I've included this now that I think about it. I'm not sure they're still offering a BBB reliability program, but they may be. And then this, I love this center one, the valued member of Honesty Online. Fantastic program, has a small monthly fee associated with it. Great, great program to be a part of. I know the guy who's done this. He's done just great things with his images, and you're starting to see this on websites all around the internet, and it's just going to keep going. So you see, these simple little changes can have some of the greatest impacts on most any site. The trust that they convey carries shoppers over the line, making the purchase a reality, and that is the key. You've got to carry them over the line. Now, there are other tactics that can be used as well, such as consumer ratings. Amazon has pretty much mastered that one. You go on their site, and any product you look at has got this, just this slew of first there's the editor's write-up on it, and then there's this slew of consumer ratings down below it. And you know what? I'm one of those people who, if I'm going to shop for something online, I'll go to Amazon. I look up a product, I read through the ratings, I find the one I want, and then I'll go buy it somewhere else, because I can usually get it for a little less. But again, it still gets me to that site, and there are times where I buy things from that site just because they're there. Referrals, security statements, these things all make a difference. And referrals can be, it's personal referrals from people. The security statements, that's an interesting one even, and that can be, in addition to that little trust icon, is a statement on the site that states that this is SSL covered up to whatever bit rate. And in all honesty, I don't think that really means anything to people, but inside it does. So the key is identifying the ways you can make that small change in doing it. Now, the takeaway you need to get here is that there are a variety of very different factors that affect conversions. Okay? Each of them has an impact on their own and should be attended to. However, like any good marketing plan, you really need to take a step back and look at things from a holistic perspective. Each of them has an impact of their own. Okay? They also work together. So there's no way that you can move into your site and affect everything overnight. Okay? But you do need to consider all the parts and how they work in conjunction. Then start making changes and testing out each one at a time. Before long, you'll have made a difference in each element, and the overall result should be a dramatic increase in your conversions. Now, there's a lot going on here to think about. You may have just watched this and felt like slap yourself in the head and said, "Geez, that's why I'm not selling anything." It's okay. It's okay. The key is, this is a look at these different aspects that affect conversion and the ways you need to look at them, the ways you need to look at your value proposition. Okay, look at your prospect awareness, just to determine, who is my prospect? How are they aware of the things I'm looking at? Am I selling a product that they know? Am I selling one that they've never even heard of and never will buy and never want? You've got to figure these things out. So, just regardless, you need to take each of these considerations into effect. Start working on each one. Like I said, you can't do them all at once, but move through this list of pieces and look at your product, look at your sales page, look at your value proposition, look at possible inhibitors. Okay, put those trust and anxiety pieces in place. It's too easy to go sign up for Honesty Online and put that little logo on your site. Boom, done. And I'll tell you another little aside with Honesty Online. You sign up for one of those accounts, okay? Say you've got 100 products. Say you have 10 products. You can use that single account for all of your products. That's fine. It's not a single-use thing. Keep that one in mind. So, at the end of the day, as you've worked with everything, you will find you've steadily improved your overall conversions. So thank you for listening to the website Conversion Demystified. I hope that this has been a help. I hope that this has given you a little different look at the way you can work with the different pieces of your site, the different elements. I hope that once you step back and you look at your site, you're going to see, whoa, all right. Well, my site was converting, but criminy, I don't have a good. What's my prospect awareness? Or what's my value proposition here? You need to look at all these things. Make sure each one of these pieces is fine-tuned. Okay? Make sure that your copy speaks to each one correctly. Make sure that that your catalysts, those things that can tip the site for you, are in place, and make sure that your action incentives are clear, easy to see, listed neatly. And then check the inhibitors, check the trust and anxiety things, work through each piece to make sure that at the end of the day, if you work with all of this, your site will convert better than ever before. Thank you.